That's dope.
What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, also known as the Wolf of Wall Street. Before we get started, please go ahead, subscribe to the channel, and hit that like button right down below. I'm just asking you to hit it because I'm exhausted. You guys have probably been watching me for about 5 hours today. I have not stopped recording basically since 9:30 this morning, my time. But speaking of subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button, thanks to my dear friend Rand Nooner and the guys at Crypto Banter, we did hit 100,000 subscribers today. We were sitting at about 95,000. I was on Crypto Banter, and unexpectedly, he spent the last 4 minutes of the show sitting there yelling at people to subscribe to the channel. So anyone who's here from Banter, guys, welcome. Thank you so much. Your family is incredible, and I owe a great debt of gratitude to Rand. And as you know, that 100,000 subscribers unlocks the $5,000 that I'm giving away to you guys. There's a link right down the bottom under this video in the description. You can click to enter. We're going to give away those 10 prizes of $500 next week. So you can still enter. But seriously, deeply from the bottom of my heart, guys, thank you so much. That was really incredible to watch and to see the power of that Crypto Banter community and of Rand, of course. So really, really amazing, guys. And I loved it. And thank you, dealer, dearly. As you can see, going across the bottom, we have, I do it the wrong way, right? The mirror. We have the information there on Superbid, who is the sponsor of these Friday streams, as you guys know by now, since I've been talking about it endlessly. They did launch on Wednesday very successfully. If you don't know about the platform, they basically make it easy for celebrities, athletes, influencers to create NFTs. They can have experiences attached to them, meeting them backstage, or it can be pictures or videos that you've never seen. But what's really interesting is that they make it easy for those people to mint those NFTs without having to have any technical knowledge of what's going on Ethereum, and also for you to buy with a credit card and not have to deal with any of that either. So you guys should definitely check them out. The information is down in the description. Massively successful launch. So congratulations to them. They are awesome. So I see a lot of you over here making jokes about our Friday technical issues. I'm confident that today's guest actually might be the first to successfully use the internet and be able to sign on correctly. Yes, we've had a bad run of cancellations or people just doing the accidental robot with bad internet. But yeah, today's guest, actually, I'm really excited for Bullish on Bitcoin today, is Charlie Burton. You guys probably know about him by now. He's been trading for over 20 years, like myself, a very, very long time. And he was a star on a show on the BBC called Traders Millions by the Minute. So I'm going to bring him on. We're going to talk Bitcoin, let him introduce himself a little more. What's up, Charlie, man? How are you doing today?
Hi, Scott, and thanks for having me on.
Sure. I wanted to make sure that we ruined your Friday night by making you go on the internet and talk to strangers, if that's cool.
A bottle of wine is waiting for me. So, yeah, the sooner that I go through this analysis, then I can crack it open. Yes.
Perfect. Makes perfect sense. Can you give everyone the very quick background on your trading history and your approach?
Yeah, sure. How long have you got? But yeah, I'll try and do it quick. So got into trading in late 1990s. So at the end of the equity bull run, I started trading equities back then and buying stocks, writing covered calls, all that sort of stuff, swing trading alongside my career. And so I was in financial services anyway in my career. And so I only got into trading to do it on the side. Loved my career, had no intention of becoming a full-time trader. But then after I think we got to about 2001, and my career was I was burning the candle at both ends. And my work-life balance, lots of people have been talking about that in the last 18 months or so, but back then I was assessing my work-life balance, and it felt like it was out of sync. And so I'd been trading for 4 years by then, and I thought, well, I'm going to give this trading a go, see if I can make the transition from being a part-time trader to a full-time trader. So I was lucky enough, I've had some cash in the bank. So I used the cash in the bank to pay me a salary whilst I just traded. And that was the transition. And I always thought that if it didn't work, I gave myself 12 months, 18 months. And if it didn't work, I could have gone back into my industry. But here I am 20 odd years later, and I'm still here. So that was what happened. As far as trading is concerned, gradually I started to move more into trading stock indices and then Forex currencies. And I still am a big currency trader to this day. as far as yeah, I've won a few, 5 trading competitions over here in the UK, and like you've already mentioned, the BBC program came along as a result of being involved in a trading competition here in the UK, and I'm now an FCA regulated money manager as well. So I've done a bit over the years, and I do run a training company as well, must admit that. But like I said, I'm FCA regulated here in London. So what else was I going to say? I think that's probably about enough. As far as the cryptos are concerned, though, I'm more of an investor in that. I'm not an active trader in cryptos, but so I'm more of an investor rather than that. But obviously, a lot of my traders are active in it, so therefore I'm looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum a lot of the time anyway. So
I love what you described, because we should make, I think, an evolutionary chart, sort of like the apes to the humans, of the evolution of a trader, and it would be like stocks, options, forex, crypto.
Yeah. I've just not quite got there from a trading perspective to trade these trade cryptos yet, but yeah, I could imagine. Yes. And so people say to me, why do you still trade forex? The moves only moves like a 0.5% a day or whatever.
Leverage.
There's this thing called leverage. Yeah.
So what I find interesting, though, is that, we've seen the stats. Obviously, 95% of traders fail, especially in the first years, right? Even Peter Brandt and a lot of the old kind of school traders say you should have 2, 3, 4 years of money set aside before you become a trader, so that you can sustain those losses. What do you think the secret was to you being successful that quickly, before we actually dive into the charts?
Well, I wasn't that successful that quickly. I actually made $250,000 and then lost it in my first year. So I actually put $40,000 into a trading account, took it up to 250,000 within 6 months, and then the next 6 months just lost it all. So no, I like everybody else, we all have to learn the hard way most of the time. I thought in that first 6 months, oh, this is easy. I've turned it into $250,000. I'll be a millionaire in the next 6 months, and then had to learn the hard way. So it wasn't. But once I'd gone past that, it was more of a gradual process. But so it still took me, I would say, a good 2.5 years before I started to feel like I'd got somewhere with it. I think that there are other elements, though. Luck does play a part, timing, and I got involved in equities in the late 90s, so everything was going up. So of course there's an element of luck there. And then I was talking to my own traders recently about when I went full-time trading. And I used to look at the NASDAQ a lot, and I noticed, this is back in 2001, that the QQQ, as it was back in the day, the NASDAQ Exchange Traded Fund, it's now the quadruple Qs, they used to gap a lot. And I thought, they're gapping a lot, and then they come back and fill the gap. Well, I'll just write some options against, or buy some options or sell options against that, buy or sell puts and calls. And that became like my bread and butter for the first couple of years. So again, a bit lucky, until the masses all found out about these gaps, and then the gaps fill strategy wasn't quite as good a few years later. But again, my first transition into day trading at the time, full-time trading, there was a little bit of luck. So I do think sometimes we all have a bit of luck at times, that you have a couple of strategies that work for you whilst you're refining other elements of your total trading. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yes, I was a great trader. I think that there was timing and a bit of luck with that was definitely there.
I don't think you can be determined to be a great trader until you've had 10 or 20 years of success and you're still here, because of that very reason. A lot of people get lucky, or they hit the right market for a few years and then they tap out. So I think that's a fair and honest assessment of the situation. I want you to know that what's happening in the comments right now is usually like conversation about coins, but it's all women talking about your accent, including my wife.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I'll give them my number, please. Yeah.
Not my wife, but the rest of them, they can.
I don't know if my wife would be that happy about that, but yeah.
Exactly. So let's dig in. Let's dig in more to Bitcoin. I love that you said very quickly, listen, I'm more of an investor in this space and less of a trader. I'm curious why you view it primarily as an investment, especially when you've been trading for 20 years. And a lot of people would argue that it's a highly tradable asset. but and then B, what you're actually looking at right now on the charts.
Yeah. Number one, I'm a creature of habit. I like doing the same thing. So even when I'm trading, I've always been a believer in focus on a few things. So even when I'm trading like Forex, I trade euro, dollar, and a couple of other major currencies. They're my bread and butter. Yeah. So I've always been a believer in focus. And I think sometimes traders especially are culprits of spreading their net too wide, and they want to trade everything. They want to be in oil, they want to be in gold, they want to be in crypto and everything. And you're like, no, just focus on a few markets and get good at that, So but at the same time, that's as much as that's a strength, it's also my weakness, because of that, I've been reluctant to go in and start trading the crypto markets. I've been sat here for the last few years, and back in 2017, before the crash, a lot of my traders, Charlie, you're missing out. We should be trading this, and I was dead fast. I did not want to trade back then because I felt the liquidity wasn't there, but I think it's obviously different now, and so I could trade them now. I just choose not to. Because I'm quite happy to do my other trading that I do, and as far as I'm concerned with Bitcoin and the likes, I'm quite happy to hold for 6 months or a year or longer. But that's my sort of my approach towards it. It's people say, oh yeah, but you could make so much more money or whatever. 2013, the year before that BBC program, was when I sort of I hit a milestone in my personal trading. And the weird thing is, I remember as a beginner trader 24 years ago thinking, right, I want to become this multimillionaire and I'll just carry on growing those accounts into infinity. And I think a lot of young people want to do that. But what I found was I hit a certain level in my trading accounts and then sort of backed off and said, do you know what? I don't need to keep pushing it anymore. I can make a nice, comfortable amount of return a year, and I'm not bothered about trying to push it and be super aggressive. So I'm in a different position from my own psychology to a lot of people. A lot of people out there might still be trading with 50K or less than 50K or 100K or whatever, and they still want to build it. I'm at a point now where I've got my pension money. Right. I'm 48 years old. In another 10 years, I'll be playing a lot more golf and other things. And I'm already adapting my trading to a slower approach than it was 10 years ago in the financial crisis when I was trading countless times a day. I'm a different person to that now. And I think that we're all at different stages in trading. I was aggressive when I was in my 20s as a trader. I'm not aggressive like I was then. It's still there, but not to the same degree.
That's just life. I'm 44, and I would say that my life is the same sort of trajectory. And I've made the comment quite a few times to people when they say, hey, why don't you trade as much? Because I used to be like on Twitter, like 15 trades a day, and I was like, I don't know. My portfolio went up so much that I don't really need to trade that much anymore. And you get to a point where if you want to risk 1 or 2% of your portfolio on a trade, that becomes a psychologically larger number than you're willing to contend with. And so it almost feels you recapture the emotion that you'd originally gotten rid of, right? Because the numbers have gotten to a certain point. So I kind of found sort of a similar, I think, thing.
100%. When you've got someone who's trading with smaller accounts, and I would generally say, like you've just said, 1% at risk per trade, but then you get to larger account sizes, and 1% seems very big. And so, exactly. And age is a big aspect there.
So you're obvious. You wouldn't be viewing Bitcoin as an investment unless you were bullish long term. But I know you might have a different view short term, which I would love for you to share. Do you mind if I add?
I'll just say, as far as the long term is concerned, last year when you've got the wrong chart. Oh, right, clever. Right. Let me just bring it across. Hold on a second.
We'll make it happen. Oh yeah.
Okay, so last year when Paul Tudor Jones announced that he'd bought Bitcoin with 2% of his portfolio, that was a big wake up call for me to say, right, okay, if that man, and if any of your listeners here do not know who he is, you must go and read Market Wizards. It is the Bible of trading, yeah. And he is like God to me as far in the trading world. And so when he announced that last year, I thought, right, okay, if Paul's doing it, I've got to be in as well. So it was around about May, June of last year. So it was a good time to have been buying. And, but I tapped out 3/4 in the spring of this year. So if we go back to the spring of this year, and the reason why, and you've got to bear in mind, I'm not a holder like many people who I know are holding for much longer, so I'm going to be in and out a little bit more. So when we were making these peaks back in the spring here, for my concern is when your tree surgeon phones you up saying, Charlie, I'm going to buy Bitcoin. A guy down the pub's telling me I should be buying Bitcoin. What do you think? That's like giving me a massive warning sign. As the old Wall Street analogy or story goes, if the shoeshine boy, back in the 1920s starts giving you stock tips, then it's time to get out of the market. And it's the same philosophy. Human psychology doesn't change. Doesn't matter what century, what decade it is. And so people are motivated by greed and fear. And so all I was seeing was massive amounts of euphoria in the spring of this year. So I did cash in 3/4 of my position in the spring. But certainly of late, if you come... so longer term, yes, I'm still I still see it as an asset class that I should have money and funds in. So that's how I do see it. But in the near term at the moment, I think you guys know way more than I do from a fundamental perspective. But certainly I have some concerns around China and some of the sentiment there. And the market, Bitcoin itself, yes, it bottomed back in July. I was being interviewed back in May when we had the flush down there into May. And I said, one of the best things that could have happened is that we just go sideways for a while. We needed to flush out, as we did, some of the weaker hands. And the market, Bitcoin has had a nice run up from 30,000 back up to 50 odd thousand there. But and then the next thing happened. I kid you not, a few weeks ago, my car dealer phoned me up. I know him quite well because I've had a few off of him. And he said, all of my technicians are talking about Bitcoin. Do you think I should be investing into it? Wow. And of course I said, so I joked with him and said, well, normally when, if you're a layman who's not a trader, not an active investor here in the UK, they're starting to hear about this sort of stuff because these technicians in the workshops are talking about it. Then again, it's probably not a great time. And that was just before the
53K or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but I did say to him, look, just dollar cost average, just go into one of the apps, dollar cost average, don't bother trying to time it. And if you want to do it as a small investment, that would be the best way. That would be my advice to do it. So, but at the moment, technically, I have some minor concerns at the moment for Bitcoin. Technically, I use moving averages, as you can see. I'm old school. I don't use a huge amount, but moving averages are a big thing for me because moving averages are an average of price. They are the price's average price. And I don't use them for crossovers or anything like that. I use them as support and resistance and for mean reversion. So if price gets too stretched away from its average price, then at some point it's going to revert back to the mean. And that's in essence how I use them. Now, one of the big moving averages that I use is the 50-day or the 50-period moving average. And that's my black moving average on my chart. So once Bitcoin broke down below that 50-day moving average, that gave me some concerns that, okay, in the near term, it's technically breaking down a little bit here. If I go to a weekly chart, let's have a look at the weekly. Now, other ways I use moving averages is when you've got price doing one thing and a moving average is doing something else. So on this chart, you can see, again, the 50-week moving average, the black line looks pretty healthy. All the moving averages are spread out. It's a healthy bull market overall. That's how I would look at that overall
Agree.
on the weekly time frame. However, when we did get up here in early September, you see my 20-week moving average was facing down. And that's one of the biggest things that I will use. If you get price moving one direction, but you've got another key moving average facing in the wrong direction, it's a good sign that price is going to have to back off a bit. So we're backing off a bit here at the moment on that. Overall, it's relatively healthy. Personally, I would love to see it back down below 30,000, but then, you know, I'm not a bear. I'm not trying to be a bear. I'm just as greedy as anyone else, and I'd love to be snapping it up in the down there. But well, only time will tell if I'm right on that, or if I get that. But that's what I'd love to see.
Were you buying when it was at 30K this last time around a few weeks ago?
No. I'm not going to sit here and say yes, I was, because I wasn't. And so I do have a recurring buy again set up anyway, but I wasn't physically going out and buying at that stage. So, but I have sold out now of a lot. So I am sitting back now, waiting for the next opportunity. I just felt that yet again, I can only measure. I measure sentiment here in the UK, but I try and keep an eye on sentiment via Twitter and social media and stuff. Sure. And I just felt that there was maybe becoming a little bit of euphoria again, not the same as we had earlier in the year, but it just started getting a bit frothy from a sentiment perspective. So I've backed away, and I'm waiting for a bit more of a pullback.
Yeah, I mean, structurally, 54 there, 53, whatever it was, is clearly a lower high now, right? I mean, there's no question now it's put in that lower high. So you're basically looking for, well, hopefully a higher low, obviously, if you're a bull, or a massive pull flag of some sort, I guess, if it goes a bit lower. But yeah, I can see why you would be looking for that. So listen, I want to let you go and go have your drinks and enjoy your evening. Tell everybody where they can follow you after this. I know you're obviously coaching and have a whole community, so feel free to share that.
On the Forex side of things, just look me up on Twitter, or people can go to Easy Trader, but it's spelled EZEE-trader.com. Go and check us out. There's plenty of free content on there, and by all means, go and check us out. But first port of call is probably just to look me up on Twitter, and it's the easiest way to find me.
I can't do what Rand did earlier, which is just sit here for 4 minutes and tell people that he had like 16,000 people there to subscribe. And everybody go subscribe. Everybody go follow Charlie on Twitter, at least, guys. Charlie B Trader, right? Charlie B Trader.
Charlie B Trader, yes.
Yeah, Charlie B Trader on Twitter, guys. So go ahead, please do that. And thank you, Charlie. Enjoy your Friday evening. I appreciate it, guys. I'm going to stick around for a little while and talk to you still. Have a good one, brother. Thank you. Hey, everyone. It's me. My face is bigger. So listen, I'm going to pull up my charts as well. Not much has changed since this morning. And all of the women, go follow him, and maybe he'll do the accent thing to you personally, since you all seem to have loved it so very much. All right, I'm going to do the rest of my show in a British accent as well. Oh, blimey. I can't do that. Can't pull that off. Cannot pull that off. But yeah, I mean, listen, we're at the same exact spot as we were this morning, right? Right at 42,000. Such a key level for me. And now we're going into the weekend. So we got 2 days basically to sweat this out and see what happens. And, you know, to his point, if we close down here, 39, 40, below 40, something like that, I could see us definitely coming in, putting in a higher low in the lower 30s and then heading up. But right now, I want to just see the weekly close above this black line, and it's literally trading on it right now. But listen, we talked about that on the daily too, saying the same thing. It lost it and immediately pumped back. This shows you that technical analysis, they're really just ideas, guys. Really just ideas. I mean, most traders would have been correct to do this, short that down, right, on this retest, and that retest ended up popping right through. So I don't blame anyone for if they would have taken that short or would be looking for these lower targets. It did not happen on the daily. So now I'm watching for it on the weekly. As I said before, this is a really key point to me here on the 4 hour. You know that I love a bullish divergence on the 4 hour. If price does drop any further below 40,596, to me, I think that very likely that we put in a higher low on RSI and get bullish divergence. It would take a hell of a push down, totally possible, but for us to put in RSI lower than 19 here, 18.71, 19, somewhere around there, that's the lowest it's been since last September, if you take a look. Let's go all the way back. This is the first time it's been this low since then. That was around 17. Before that, you got to scroll all the way back to March of 2020 when literally the entire world economy collapsed because of COVID. So I personally, at this point, I'm not seeing those much lower targets because I think if we start to put in lows, we're going to get that on all these time frames, right? 6 hour would look the same. 12 hour would look the same. Even a daily bull div could potentially be there. The one thing that does give me pause about not going a bit lower is that we did see overbought daily. This was the top, huge bear divs, overbought daily. Bullish divergence was here, if I remember correctly. Yeah, massive bullish divergence on the daily all the way up to overbought. We have not come back to oversold. That is inevitable at some point. Doesn't mean it can't go way back up first, but maybe we just get that oversold. I was kind of cheering for it right here when we were down at 30, 34. But right now, to me, guys, the story is really this weekly chart at 42,000. I'm coming back over here to the comments, hang out with you guys for a few minutes before we get out of here. Yeah, tasty RSI. Got to agree with that. Rodgers looked good the other day. We're talking about football in here. Yeah, he's my quarterback in one of my leagues. So, yeah. Hey, Scott, I'm married. Thanks for prefacing this comment with that, Mike. But I'll pretend to like the accent if my question gets answered. Based on the September 7th Coinbase stability, Bemnit now tops my list for year end. I thought I was going to get there on understanding this question, but I don't. You can feel free to post it again. But I don't really actually know what you're asking there. I thought we had a question. So it is unclear to me what bullish divergence represents. I keep hearing it a lot. I'm new to all of this. Okay, I'll give you the very quick primer. Okay. RSI is basically when it's up here above 70, it's overbought, meaning it's likely to revert to the mean and go down. When it's out below here at 30, it's oversold, which means it's likely to revert to the mean and head back up. That's why I don't use RSI in this way, but the line at 50, kind of right here, generally acts as support and resistance and is considered the flip of bullish or bearish on RSI. Now, the idea of divergence is when price, and it can be from any indicator, it can be volume, it can be basically anything. The idea of divergence is you're looking for when price disagrees or agrees in general with your indicators or your volume or any of those other things. So the idea here is that when RSI hits a certain point, it's indicating buying or selling pressure, right? That's what RSI is really indicating. So if you're down here and you see RSI come up and make a higher low, that means that buying pressure is increasing, but to make that divergent, price had to come down. Right? So you have a divergence between what price is telling you and what RSI is telling you. That is the idea. You're showing, if buyers are showing more strength, but price is going down, you expect you'll see price come up, revert to the mean, pop. If you're up top and you see that selling pressure is increasing, but price is going up, same thing. You get the same idea with volume, right? You say that you want volume to confirm a move. Kind of can look at it here actually on the daily. There's a decent example, right? When we broke down below 42, we had this massive volume, and you can see that volume with this MA, this line right here, was decreasing on this entire dip, right? A true bearish trend, you would see volume increasing as price was dropping. A true bullish trend, you see price increasing with volume increasing. So when you see that divergence, when price is going down, or when price is going up and volume is going down, you want volume to confirm price. Same kind of concept with the divergence. What were you really thinking when that guy commented he would buy Bitcoin Cash with 10K on Banter this morning? So I don't know if you guys know who that guy is, but that was Kim.com. I mean, he's like one of the most famous human beings on the planet. Has been banned in multiple countries, but he's a pretty much viewed as a genius, kind of a Snowden type character, actually. But I knew that he was into Bitcoin Cash, and you heard him even earlier in the commentary. He said, I would increase the block size of Bitcoin. Well, that's the argument of the Bitcoin Cashers. I'm not into Bitcoin Cash. I disagree, but I see fundamentally why they believe what they do. But yeah, you guys should look into Kim.com. That's who we were talking to. That wasn't just like some random guy that came on. I'll show you. I mean, you guys will look him up. Just go ahead and but the fact that he decided to show up and go on that like very, very, very inspiring rant about Bitcoin and about buying it today and freedom. Well, that there's no human being on the planet probably who's walked the walk in that regard more than Kim.com. Right. So whatever you believe about him, I don't know, but I think that was incredibly inspiring, and he's put his money where his mouth is. If he says that he's into Bitcoin Cash, there's a reason that he's into Bitcoin Cash. Not my thing, but I absolutely respect it. So yeah, check him out. Hi, Scott from Banter Junkie. There's so many banter people here. I love it. And this is always our lightest stream, Friday afternoon. It's nighttime for people. I'm exhausted. I literally did my show this morning at 9:30. I was up at 4:30, wrote the newsletter, immediately prepped for my show, immediately on to banter for an hour, 20-minute break, podcast with Dan Tapiero, which was amazing. 20-minute break here. So yeah, guys, it's exhausting, but I literally never, ever get tired about talking about crypto with you guys. So I'm loving it. But we are now here. It's 2:00. It is Friday. I think it's time to let everyone go and have a wonderful weekend. So guys, once again, you still can enter to win the money, but I want to thank you. I know, and honestly, I never celebrate milestones as far as numbers of followers on Twitter. I think it's kind of meaningless. But the manner in which I got to 100K, that was really meaningful for me because you guys decided to do that all at once, and because Ran is such a good friend. You guys don't understand how good of a guy Ran is, honestly. One day he was like, "Hey man," and I know Ran in person, by the way, and he's met my wife, and we've spent time together. But he was like, "Hey man, give me your address. I got something." And he sent me this amazing podcasting piece of equipment. He was like, "You're a DJ. I know you can mess with music on here and stuff. I've started playing with it." But he's that kind of guy who sent me just an expensive gift just because, and did what he did today, And so really just amazing. I know that I can't give back to him in that sort of manner, but you guys should also obviously go subscribe to Crypto Banter if you haven't. He's just a great guy. Giveaway time, Betty. We're going to do it next week. So the link down below goes to this platform, Gleam. Obviously, I'm not going to choose the people. So my team, they're going to go in there and it randomly generates the 10 winners, and we will have that money going out very, 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 very soon. Guys, thank you so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed Charlie's accent. And I know, crazy. Now you guys aren't going to see me for a whole couple days here. But until Monday morning, peace out, guys. Thanks.
Let's go.